Throughout all of rock's glory years, there have been many songs that have been reviled by various members of the band that actually spawned them. It could be the composition itself or the subtext behind it, but for whatever reason, some members of these bands just couldn't back their own tunes. Whether it was looked at as selling out or just a questionable sonic experiment, these songs were still recorded and then put out, and sometimes even ended up being massive hits, proving the writer correct and the other musicians bitter. As you can imagine, the grudges stemming from this have only festered, and have even led to major fallouts down the line. So the following songs may still be played around the world, but that doesn't mean they were pleasant to create. I'm Josh from WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 songs that cause huge rifts in bands. Number 10. 100,000 Years, Kiss. Kiss's first live album was the shot heard around the rock scene. Virtually overnight, the band went from being this niche theatrical outfit from New York to bona fide rock superstars. However, there were several songs from the live recordings that some of the members could have done without. For many fans, a particular highlight of the double album is 100,000 Years, whose tune goes from staggering hard rock to one of the greatest drum solos Catman Peter Criss ever played. While Peter took a lot of pride in this phenomenal solo, members Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley didn't really see the point in filling the record with the entire solo section. Their reasoning was that while a drum solo may be awesome in concert, it would sound boring when pressed to vinyl. Furious, Criss lashed out at his bandmates and even threatened to quit the band if his solo was not kept in the final mix. This outburst, along with Criss's dysfunction with the other members, was ultimately what led to him quitting at the end of the 70s. With much reluctance though, the band left it in, but for a moment the rock world would have been left without one of the most awe-inspiring moments of the band's masterpiece. Number 9. Whatever, Oasis. Whatever is a perfect snapshot of Oasis in their early period. Coming just after the release of the band's defining Definitely Maybe, the song is one of the finest melodic passages that Noel Gallagher had written up to that point. However, the delivery of the song never sat well between the Gallagher brothers. The crux of the matter stemmed from the fact that Noel thought his brother Liam could not sing the first verse properly. After hours upon hours of studio time, Noel finally found the take he was happy with and set about adding the rest of the elaborate touches like strings into the mix. The contentious nature of the song didn't stop there though. On many occasions, Oasis's live gigs would be going great until they got to Whatever. I mean, look no further than the band's performance at Main Road, where the band starts the song several times before Liam saunters off the stage, leaving Noel to take over on vocals for the rest of the tune. Though there have been many on-stage debacles when it comes to the performers of the tune, thank the musical gods that the Gallaghers were able to get it right at least once on record. Number 8. Don't Stop Me Now, Queen. In the entire rock and roll scene, you will probably not find a single hard rock performer that is as diplomatic as Brian May. But that didn't mean he didn't make his distaste for songs known. While it's a stretch to say that Brian May outright hates Don't Stop Me Now, he has gone on record saying that the tune reminds him of a dark time in the band's life. With frontman Freddie Mercury's offstage antics becoming more and more dangerous, May was not exactly thrilled at the prospect of performing a song that celebrated that kind of lifestyle. Instead of looking at it as a song about living in the moment, May saw his friend and bandmate treading a dark path that could end in his demise sooner rather than later. However, that didn't stop this tune from being one of the standouts on the band's album Jazz, and one of their more endurable classics. May has certainly made his peace with the song since the initial recording, but it goes to show you just how gentlemanly the guitarist is, even when complaining about songs. Number 7. Revolution 9, The Beatles. For many diehard fans of the Beatles, Revolution 9 tends to be known as the forbidden song that nobody wants to talk about. Coming at the tail end of the band's self-titled White Album, this is one of John Lennon's first forays into avant-garde music, with a raucous soundscape that seems to embody the singer's idea of revolution. Though the entire album is a bit of a mixed bag of different genres, Paul McCartney just could not get behind having this off-the-wall sonic experiment on the record. When going through the 30 songs to put on the double album, McCartney was adamant about how the tune was out of place amid the rest of the album's eclectic mix of styles. Lennon, however, really believed in the song as one of the most ambitious artistic works he had ever done during his time with the Beatles. Even if there was squabbling taking place during the production of this record, no one could have predicted that a split was on the horizon. Number 6. Dancing in the Street, Van Halen. Van Halen's time with David Lee Roth was a creative streak that has gone down in rock history. Throughout the late 70s and early 80s, the band made impeccable hard rock, with nearly every song being a must-hear for fans of the genre. Notice the use of the word nearly in that sentence though. Just before the band wowed us with their massive album 1984, the band's previous release, Diver Down, was met with tension between the band members. Though there is some strong material on the record, Eddie Van Halen has expressed distaste for the rushed production and the fact that half the record was filled with cover songs. Out of all the cover material on the album, most of the band couldn't get behind Dancing in the Street, which Roth thought would send them over the top. Given the band's track record for writing hard rock masterpieces, the rest of the group felt that they had no place riding on the coattails of a Motown classic from the 60s. While most of Van Halen's output at this time was excellent, this song gives the impression of a David Lee Roth solo song that just so happens to have his Van Halen band members backing him up. Number 5. 1 in a Million, Guns N' Roses. GNR Lies has always seemed to be one of the dark horses in the Guns N' Roses catalogue. Immediately following the band's massive breakthrough Appetite for Destruction, this collection of acoustic cuts shows a much more intimate and raw side of the band. While the EP did give us the fantastic ballad Patience, my personal favourite Guns N' Roses song, Axl Rose's original 1 in a Million was met with revulsion by the band almost immediately. While Rose really believed in the track, the lyrics of the tune are extremely offensive, as they offer up homophobic, racist, and anti-immigrant sentiments. According to Slash, it was originally fine up until hearing the lyrics with Rose using the N-word, which got to be extremely unsettling. Rose eventually defended his use of language in the song, claiming it was not meant to refer to only black people, but the damage had already been done. Instead of tying up their acoustic session on a high note, 1 in a Million is the song that planted the first seeds of dysfunction into the world's most dangerous band. Number 4. Free Fallin', Tom Petty. As the 80s were winding down, Tom Petty needed to take a step away from the rock and roll machine. After going on tour and almost getting killed after someone burnt his house down, Petty needed a bit of positivity back in his life. Once he hooked up with producer Jeff Lynne, they created the album Full Moon Fever, which gave Petty some of the most successful songs of his career. Though the album is a solo record, many of the Heartbreakers were called in to work on the tracks. While Petty was really enthusiastic about the new direction, the other Heartbreakers found it a bit hard settling into the album's groove. One day, bassist Howie Epstein turned up to the studio but was not enjoying the actual recording process. When Tom came out to tell Epstein they were getting ready to record the bass track, he quickly pointed out that he didn't like the song and then just left. What the bassist missed out on was Free Fallin' though, which would go on to become one of Petty's greatest ever tunes. Though the animosity quickly faded, Epstein went from ditching a song he didn't like to playing that very same song time and time again whenever the band hit the stage. Number 3. Girls of Summer, Aerosmith. Out of all the songs in Aerosmith's discography, Girls of Summer tends to get swept under the rug by rock enthusiasts. For many, this song arrives in the period when Aerosmith were in their pop rock phase, with a sound that was too shimmery for the band's hard rock ethos. As it turns out, frontman Steve Tyler was the only one who truly believed in this track, and ended up contributing most of the heavy lifting when composing it with Joe Perry and songsmith Marty Fredrickson. By the time the band got around to making a video, the other members outright refused to appear in it, leaving most of the footage to be dominated by Tyler and the 3 female characters as the Girls of Summer. The song ended up being moderately successful, but the band quickly washed their hands of the tune. Number 2. Open Arms, Journey. Over the course of their career, Journey went from being one of the greatest fusion rock bands to the darlings of the radio waves under Steve Perry. Though the band had many hits with Perry before, it wasn't until the release of the song Open Arms that the group really started to take off. However, Perry's initial presentation of the song to the band was not at all pleasant. After performing it with pianist Jonathan Cain, guitarist Neil Schon jokingly remarked that the song sounded a bit too Mary Poppins for the band to play. After relentless mocking in the studio, Schon finally laid down a guitar part for the song which fit perfectly with Cain's melody. Instead of being greeted by devoted fans, the band's concert audiences started to blow up to gigantic proportions after this dropped. After one particular night, Schon came off stage telling Perry that the song really kicked ass, leaving Perry a bit perturbed about the sudden change of heart. Number 1. Victim of Love, Eagles. When the Eagles got around to making their masterpiece album Hotel California, songwriters Don Henley and Glenn Frey were on a mission. Working diligently in the studio, the duo ruled the band with an iron fist, with absolutely zero tolerance for filler material. Once guitarist Don Felder came in with a demo for the song Victim of Love, he made a point that he wanted to sing the song on the record. Though Frey and Henley originally agreed, the vocal takes just weren't coming together. Instead of being upfront with Felder about his singing abilities, however, the band agreed to have their manager take Felder out to dinner while they stayed in the studio and cut the song with Henley singing instead. By the time Felder got back to work in the studio, he realized that his vocal takes had been stolen right from under his nose. Not too long after making the record, the band renegotiated their contract, leaving Felder with far less earnings than his fellow bandmates, leading to years of bad blood between Felder and the rest of the band. So that's the list. Want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Have I missed off any tracks here that absolutely divided the bands that made them? And do you still like these tracks knowing the pain that went into them? Either way, while you're down there, could you give us a like, share, subscribe, and head over to WhatCulture Music for more delicious content like this every single day. Even if you don't though, I've been Josh, thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.